We always put the good side down. These are our muttons and mullions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a pattern cut on this side and a pattern cut on that side using my push block. Okay, you can see we made that pattern cut, and you can hear a little bit of chipping on the router bit and everything, but we made that cut in one pass. Remember, previously we took 2 passes, so you can do it in one pass if you want. But there's our 2 muttons and mullions. I'm going to get one out of here and one over here. So now I'm going to take it back to the table saw, set it for 1 1/8 inches, and I'm going to rip out one piece here and one piece here for 2 different doors. Okay, you can see we cut these into 1 1/8 inch strips with the pattern cut there and the pattern cut there. We have to do the other side now, but you can imagine if we started out with 1 1/8 to begin with, how difficult it would be. And I used to do this, kind of run it through like that, but we figured out a better way of doing it in sections like this. So, what we need to do now is we still have a problem. We got the one side done, we have to go and do the other side. So, turn it around. And there's no way we're going to be able to hold it like this, so that's why we got to make a jig. Remember previously when we used that cope cutter? The cope cutter is the opposite of this cutter. Well, remember when we made that cope cut into that long sled right here? That cope cutting cut right there is the opposite of this pattern cut. Well, opposites attract, so that allows me to engage this piece into here. Now I can very safely take this thing and run it through with one hand using my push block screwed down to my jig. But the only thing is, when that bit's turning at high speed, it's going to want to come in here and kick this thing back. So what we got to do to prevent that is put a stop on our sled. And you can see right here where our cope cut's made, all I have is a little stop right here. And that stop is going to go right there. I'm going to screw it in, and that'll prevent that kickback. So let's screw this in. I'm going to bring it around. Take my screw gun right here. There, now we got our stop, and our piece is not going to come, it's going to stop. So now we can make our pattern cut very safely. And again, we'll show you making the cut in one pass. Even though that's a big rabbit cut, we'll make it in a slow speed, and we'll make it in one pass. And right there is how easily and safely you can cut your muttons and mullions with that jig right there. We've got our 2 cope cuts. Nice pattern cut. Now, that piece is going to be fitting right into the middle right there. What we have to do next is cut these 2 shorter pieces. And I'll show you how we do that next. Okay, we're ready to take, and we've got the long ones done, but we're going to take this long one now and cut the other side, and we're going to cut that into our short pieces, our 3 7/8 inch pieces. So let's load this into our sled here now. And we'll make our pattern cut on the other side. Okay, now all we have to do is take this, and we're going to take this back to our miter sled, and we're going to cut this into the right lengths, which are 3 7/8. Which I've already done on this section right here. You can see we've got our muttons and mulls to the right lengths now, 3 7/8, a bunch of them. A couple of them already have the cope cuts cut from the 2 ends. Okay, now the next thing we have to do is cut the cope cut on the other end. And while we're doing it, let's cut the cope cuts on the ends of these too. So what we're going to do next is change bits and put the cope cutter back in. Okay, we're ready to take that pattern cutting bit out of there again and insert the cope cutter right on our rubber grommet. Makes it easy. Insert ring goes in, and we're ready to make our cope cuts. So what we have to do is move the fence in here again and get it flush with that bearing like we always do. Now what we have to do is we've got the cope cut done here already. We have to take and cut a cope cut here. And I tell you what, there's no way we're going to use that little push block again and put my hands in here and do that. What we used to do is cut a little cope cut into here, insert this into here, but we found a better way yet. What we did, remember those 2 jigs we made earlier that we cut the cope cuts all the way around? We're going to use that as we're going to make a sandwich. We're going to sandwich this little mutton and mole right in there like that. And we're going to put this one in here like that. And we can hold that together. Now, when we make our cope cut on the end grain there, there's going to be no chippage because it's going to be one unit as we pass it through, right like this. Okay? So we'll just come into here, turn our router on, and make our cope cuts. Very easy way of cutting cope cuts on small pieces. We can take that out and there's no chipping at all. Okay? So we'll do that on the remainder of our muttons and moles, and we'll be ready to take and put our divided light door together. Okay, we've got our divided light door kind of dry clamped up here now, and you can see what I did. I found the center of my bottom rail and the center of my top rail so I can line my mutton there. We found the center where we want these pieces going here, and did that. And once you find the outside two, take a square and transfer it across and put a mark in the center so you get these 2 pieces going straight with each other. All right. You can see though, right now we got a little bit of a problem here. This bottom rail is sticking down maybe just a fraction, a 32nd of an inch here, and we're a little bit shy. The reason is we're a little bit shy here on our top mutton here. So the reason because of that is because the backs of our muttons and mullions are cut square where we have an arch here. So what we have to do is we have to take and sand, just take some sandpaper and sand that rounded just a little bit of a radius on that back side of that cope cut. That's all you have to do, okay, to get that to fit. The other thing, when we sandwiched and cut these, we didn't get any chipping going on, but what we did, if you look really close right here, we got a little bit of fuzz there, see? What I like to do there is take some fine sandpaper and just back sand that, right like this, see, on each side. I'll do that on all the 4 pieces, okay? I'll just dress them up like that. And it should be just a little bit of a curve there. Okay? That kind of cleans them up nice, gets rid of the fuzz to make a nice door. All right. What we're going to do next now is I'm going to take this out, sand my back of my cope, and then we're going to insert and show you how we glue up this divided light door. Okay, we've got our middle mutton here all sanded here on the cope cut so it fits into here. And we got our 2 middle pieces coming into here. Now, if you've ever attempted to glue up one of these divided light doors, it could be a nightmare for you. What you have to do is glue your cope cuts on your regular door. There's 4. Your cope cuts here, 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 and here, 4 more, and inside here, that's 2 more. That's about 10 different places you're gluing, and it can become kind of a hard thing to do. So what I like to do is take this middle section and glue this up independently of that. And then I'm going to treat this like a regular raised panel door and insert it into my glass panel door like that, let's say. So to glue this now, I like to use it when I'm doing the divided lights. This glue we have here, it's called 2P10. 2 parts, 10 seconds. All you have to do is put 1 drop of this glue right where you want to glue it. Let's put 1 drop right here. And this part, this is my activator. It activates it, and you don't have to worry about that staining the wood or anything. We'll put the 2 together right there and hold it. 10 seconds. That's why it's called 2P10. 2 parts, 10 seconds, you're set. Okay? So it makes it a lot easier gluing up the doors with this type of glue. Take my other mutt. Like I said, this evaporates right away and you can stain right over it. We'll put this one directly across from it. And we hold that about another 10 seconds. Okay, now when we're ready to start gluing up this door, we're going to use a regular tight bond glue and glue up the joints here. And also I use tight bond here on these four corners here. It's a lot easier to glue up that door. So that's what we'll do next. We'll bring our tight bond glue in here and glue up our door. Okay, we've got the door all glued up now, and that's our divided light door with the arch top. And this divided light door has 4 separate divisions, as you can see. On the back, when you put your glass in, you're going to have to cut 4 different pieces of glass. Okay? Now, I personally don't like that. I like to get lazy and have 1 piece of glass in there, but still have it look like a divided light on the front. Now, if I'm going to do that, what I have to do, that means I have to get rid of these dividers, these little fins right here that separate the glass. And I'll show you how we're going to do that with our next bit. Okay, that next bit we're going to use is the same bit we used on the that slotting cutter bit we used to cut that groove. We're going to insert that into our router, snug it up, and we're ready to go. Now, the only thing is, remember I said where all of these bits are automatically set to the correct height? Well, it's not going to be this time because we're using it for a different operation. Remember how we used to cut the groove in there for that rubber panel retainer with this? Well, we're going to use the same bit, but what I'm going to do, you can see there, I'm going to lower that bit down so that carbide is right level with the back of my divided light. So let me lower that down. And a better way of doing that is we're going to cut it in the sled anyway, so let's insert it into the sled so that we're nice and level. And I'll lower that, now we're perfectly level, and I'll lower that down. And I like to lower it, just move this board until it catches. Right there, we're just catching, we're making the bit go. So we're just taking off a little bit. Lock the bit in, and we're ready to go. Now, we're going to move the fence again so we're flush with that bearing. And again, we can put this right underneath here. And right there, you can see where the bearing, we're going to slice that piece off. Right like that. So we'll put our glasses on and make that cut.